Right guys, so we've all got our favorite instrument and effect plugins. These are the ones we load up on every single project without even thinking about it. And whilst that's great for productivity, if you're anything like me, you've got a bunch installed that you just never load up and you forget you have. So today I'm going to be making a beat using my slept-on plugins. I think this is a great way to spark some creativity, and hopefully I can inspire you to do the same. Let's jump straight into it. So my first slept-on plugin is Arturia Pigment. Now it's a fantastic plugin, don't get me wrong. I just never quite worked it into my workflow. I'm just going to keep this really simple by putting down a basic triad. And I'm just going to invert this note up. Just copy that over, and we'll just bring this one up to utilize these tension notes. Do the same again. And then we'll just bring it back to this second chord. Copy these over, randomize it all by a small amount, and then just pull these velocities down so it's not hitting quite as hard. Let's just add in some bass notes. Bring the velocities on these down as well. Now just to match those bass notes, I'm going to add an extra note here. Even do that here as well. I'm going to switch out the sound for something different though. Maybe we could use some keys. Quite liking these French Riviera ones. There's a little bit of atmosphere and some crackles in them. Take these chords here and copy them. Then we'll just paste them onto a new layer. So the second of my slept-on VSTs that I pulled up is called Loom. Now I don't actually think I've ever loaded this up. I'm pretty sure it came free with a MIDI keyboard. Maybe just try one of these pads. I like that straight away. Just quickly process the sound. So let's drop these volumes down a little bit. On these first keys, let's roll off any bass. And I think they're hitting a little bit too harsh, so I'm just going to add some reverb to soften them. On this pad here from Loom, we'll just roll off the bass again. And I'm just going to add a little bit of kickstart too, just to get some motion in there. Instantly changes it. Keeping it really simple here and moving on, we can always add more processing later. So the next of my slept-on VSTs is Sector by Initial Audio. That's an absolutely great synth. I just always seem to forget that I have it. Let's see what we can find in here. Maybe some bells. Thinking maybe Exorcist or Jack-O-Lantern. Got kind of an emotional feel. Quite like it. I just want to check what this Jack-O-Lantern one sounds like. Quite like this Demons in my head actually. Roll off the low end. Just add a little bit of delay here. So I'm just going to add one more layer and then I'm going to convert it to audio. And then I can use some of the effects that I always sleep on to mess with it more there. I'm going for this drifting horn synth and this synth called Hybrid. Once again, I don't think I've ever loaded this up. It came free with that same MIDI keyboard. Add some reverb again. Just a little bit of chorus as well. Before I convert it to audio, I'm just going to do some panning. So I'm just going to take this one to the left, this one to the right. So the easiest way to render the audio in Ableton is to bring in an audio track, select resampling, make sure it's armed to record. Just hit the record button. So now that we have this rendered out, we can warp it in different ways. It's always nice to try it reversed first. Another option is to reverse it in place. So just go in and reverse every half bar. This will then follow the same chord progression. Quite like the way that sounds, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that all the way across. Consolidate this with Control and J. Now we can just try playing with the pitch, so I'm just going to drop it down by a few, see how it sounds. Instantly goes darker. The other option to make it sound dark might be to try half time. Quite like that, but I think we'd need to pitch it up then. one of my slept on effects plugins is EFX Motions. Now, I should not be sleeping on this at all. It is a really awesome plugin. As you can see, it's got tons of presets for warping your sounds. The best way I can kind of describe it is like Cable Guy's Shaper Box crossed with something like Effect Tricks by Sugar Bytes. I'm just going to try this default preset here, Amen Please. A little bit of that has a little bit of glitchy tones in. Let's take out these parts. I'm just going to throw some Portal on this. Now, I use Portal all the time, but I love what it can do to a melody. Just kind of adds in those textures, those extra granular high pitch parts. Adds in so much extra texture. Might just try pitching this sample up a little bit more. I think this is a solid base for a trap melody. I'm going to go ahead and add another counter melody on top now. Now for the counter melody, I've pulled up Expand. Now I wouldn't exactly say that I've slept on Expand, but it is something that I don't really use much anymore. Now I'm sure you've probably seen this in a bunch of videos. There's some really nice sounds in here. I'm just going to grab something like this Koto Lest. A little bit of reverb, bring the mix down. Then we could use something like this EFX Refract. Now this is another one that I've been sleeping on that I really shouldn't be. Arturia honestly are one of my favorite plugin companies. Maybe something like this BPM Octo. May decide that I want some more variation in the melody later on, but right now I'm just going to start putting down some drums. I'm just going to keep these snares really simple. Adding a counter snare as well. Just a really simple basic two-step hi-hat. Now the reason I put this down as a really simple two-step hi-hat is because I noticed here in EFX Motions, they've got these hat rolls. Quite liking this, but I think it's just a little bit too busy. So I'm just going to take some of these out. Maybe take this one out, add one in there. Liking the way that sounds. I've loaded the spins into a simpler and I'm just going to make sure I click one shot. This will just make sure that the sample sustains until it's next triggered. Add some quicker ones in here and maybe one on a different note just for some variation. Now just to make some room for this 808, I'm just going to take some volumes down. And I'm just going to add a little bit of smack attack. I'm going to add this crash out of the Keep It 500 kit. As always, link is in description below. Bring this down on the mixer. Let's just add a quick open hat as well. Grab a couple of perks as well. Find some little pockets of space for these. And just to get a dark feel into this, I want to add a low piano. Come to Contact. Definitely don't sleep on Contact, but there's definitely banks in Contact that I do sleep on. One of these being the original factory library. So I'm just going to come to the keyboard instruments. And I'm going to select this August Forester Grand. I'm just going to put down the bass notes from earlier. In fact, I think this Concert Grand might be better. Just fills up the extra little bit low end. Makes it sound so much harder. I'm just going to add this church bell sample from Splice. For the chorus, I just want to add one extra counter melody. So I've come into expand. Just dampen these a little bit as well. A little bit of chorus as well. And then just a little bit of bite on classic sampler. And last but not least, just a little bit of reverb as well. Move these around in the stereo field as well with Shaper Box. On my main mix bus here, I've just added the Initial Audio Clipper. Now this is a completely free plugin. You can get it on the Initial Audio website. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description below just to make it easy for you. All I've done is just boosted the input gain a little bit. So when I turn it on, so I'm going to use these pizzicatos here in the chorus section. But then I think in a section of the verse, I just want some staccatos. So I've just come back to the Contact Factory library and I'm just going to select the cello ensemble and the staccato, mute these pizzicatos. So I'm just going to keep these really simple and follow the chord progression and just use 2 octaves just to thicken them out. Maybe we could follow the bass notes here. Maybe just take these ones up actually. I think that just gives a little bit of extra energy for a section of the verse. Right, the beat was sounding pretty full, so I've gone ahead and structured it out. I did some simple transitions, done some level changes, EQ and panning. Take a final listen in a second. Let me know in the comments down below what VSTs you've bought and then hardly ever load up. Hopefully, with a little bit of luck, I've inspired you to load some of them up and get some different sounds into your beats. Right, let's take a final listen.